Mountain climbing is a sport that demands a lot of stamina, willpower, and courage. In addition to physical and mental health, the feeling of success and the stunning views that can be viewed from the top of a mountain are breathtaking, which is why so many people appreciate it on a global scale. Safety is among the most crucial factors to take into account when mountain climbing. Climbers must have all the required equipment, such as helmets, harness, carabiners, and ropes. Additionally, they need to be aware of the weather and be ready for any threats, such as avalanches or rockfalls. It is crucial to comprehend the route thoroughly and make plans based on it, taking into account things like the difficulty of the climb, how long will it take, and the group's level of experience. The necessary physical and mental preparation is a crucial component of mountain climbing. As the climb can be highly physically taxing, climbers need to be in a good physical condition. This can involve getting in shape with exercises like cardio and strength training, as well as getting ready for the changes in altitude that are bound to happen throughout the climb. Climbers must also psychologically prepare themselves for any difficulties they might encounter, such as fear of heights or challenging terrain during the climb. It is crucial to have the proper attitude when scaling a mountain. The climb should be embraced and appreciated at every stage, because it's the journey rather than the final destination. This is an article that contains the 5 worst accidents that ever occurred during mountain climbing. On number 1, the 1996 Mount Everest disaster. The 1996 Mount Everest accident took place during the peak climbing season on the highest mountain in the world, while attempting to reach the top of Mount Everest on May 10, 1996. A group of climbers from the different teams were caught in a violent storm. A handful of climbers were left trapped high up on the mountain due to the storm, which was unanticipated and considerably worse than planned. 8 climbers perished in the catastrophe, making it one of the worst days in Everest history. Several causes contributed to the 1996 accident. The enormous numbers of climbers trying to reach the summit on the same day was a significant contributing element. Since there were so many climbers on the restricted path to the summit, there were delays, confusion, and instances where climbers ran out of oxygen. The insufficient accuracy of the weather predictions was another contributing factor. Many climbers were unprepared for the severe weather when they got trapped in a storm that turned out to be much worse than expected. The accident raised awareness of both Mount Everest commercialization and its perilous ascent. Many condemned a large number of climbers as being untrained and ill-equipped to tackle the difficult circumstances while paying substantial sums of money to be escorted to the top. Following the tragedy, new rules were implemented to increase safety on the mountain. These included stricter requirements for climbing, improved weather predictions, and improved communications between climbers and base camp. The Mount Everest disaster of 1996 will always be regarded as a tragic occasion in climbing history. The 8 fatalities serve as a reminder of the perils and risks involved in scaling the highest mountain in the world. Mount Everest is still a difficult and dangerous climb, and those who attempt it must be ready for the worst-case situation, even with better restrictions. On number 2, the 2014 Mount Everest avalanche. A significant avalanche that hit Mount Everest on April 18, 2014, killed 16 Sherpa guides and injured several others. At a height of roughly 5,800 meters, the catastrophe took place on the Khumbu Icefall, a dangerous area in the mountain, notorious for its brittle ice and crevasses. The Sherpa guides were mending ropes for the approaching climbing season when a huge chunk of ice broke loose from the mountain and fell down the icefall, setting off the avalanche. Rescue operations were impeded by the hazardous weather and the great altitude, and many of the guides were buried beneath the ice and snow. The tragedy, the deadliest in Mount Everest recorded history, had a significant effect on the Sherpa community because many of them depend on the climbing season to sustain their families. It also brought up important issues regarding the ethics and safety of ascending the highest mountain in the world. Numerous Sherpa expedition leaders and guides demanded stronger safety protocols and greater recompense for the victims' families in the wake of the disaster. In the wake of the tragedy, numerous missions were cancelled or curtailed back, and some even called for a boycott of climbing season. The disaster also brought attention to the risks and challenges faced by the Sherpa guides. who often work in hazardous conditions with little recognition or compensation. It also highlighted the need for better communication and coordination between climbers and the local communities, who were often the ones most affected by the climbing industry. Overall, the 2014 Mount Everest avalanche was a tragic event that claimed the lives of 16 Sherpa guides and forever changed the way the world viewed climbing the mountain. It served as a reminder of the dangers of climbing and the importance of taking safety seriously, as well as the need to support the local communities that are most affected by the climbing industry. On number 3, the 1970 Annapurna disaster. A horrific incident called the Annapurna disaster took place in the 1970s while a climbing team was on Nepal's Annapurna mountain. The tragedy claimed the lives of 6 climbers. The mission of the expedition, which was headed by Chris Bonington and also featured Dougal Haston, Don Willens, and Ian Claw, was to attempt the first ascent of Annapurna's south face. The climbers initially succeeded in ascending the mountain to a high elevation, but they soon ran into bad weather and had to turn back. However, during the descent, a number of the team members were killed when they were caught in the avalanche. The tragedy received extensive media coverage, had a profound effect on the climbing community, and brought up the critical issues regarding the dangers and the morality of climbing in the Himalayas. It is considered as one of the worst climbing disasters in the history of mountaineering. On number 4, the 2008 K2 disaster. On the 1st and 2nd days of August 2008, the mountain K2 in Pakistan experienced the 2008 K2 disaster. The summit elevation of K2, the second highest mountain in the world, the 8,611 meters. 11 climbers perished in the accident, making it the second deadliest day in K2 climbing history, behind the 1986 K2 disaster. A string of unlucky incidents and the climbers' bad choice led to the events of 2008 accident. On August 1st, numerous foreign teams and a sizable number of climbers were making an effort to reach the mountain's peak. However, a change in the mountain's ice peak resulted in a sequence of serac collapses and avalanches, which created delays and uncertainty. Because of this, and inadequate leadership and communication, climbers got separated and spent the night stuck on the peak. A number of climbers perished the following day while attempting to descend, and others were left trapped without enough supplies or rescue. The incident shows how crucial good preparation, coordination and leadership are while climbing at high altitudes. On number 5, the 1985 Mount Everest disaster. A catastrophic incident that happened on Mount Everest flanks is referred to as the 1985 Mount Everest disaster, also known as the K2 disaster or the Everest disaster. On May 11, 1985, while attempting to reach the summit of the peak, a group of climbers from various expeditions were stranded in a heavy blizzard. Due to the storm and low visibility, climbers were trapped at a high elevation and were unable to descend. 6 Sherpas and 2 climbers from the west were among the 8 climbers who perished in the incident. Numerous things contribute to the tragedy, including inadequate equipment, bad weather predictions, and inexperienced leadership. The tragedy prompted a review of safety protocols and climbing ethics on Mount Everest and other high-altitude summits. The tragedy serves as a warning about the perils of climbing and the significance of careful preparation and safety precautions. Many climbers continue to perish the envelope and attempt to ascend the tallest and most difficult peaks in the world despite these risks. The satisfaction of reaching the peak exceeds the risks for these climbers. Climbers must, however, be aware of the risks and take essential safety measures to ensure their safety. In conclusion, mountain climbing is a risky sport that calls for a high level of preparation, skill, and experience. Climbers must understand the risks and take all required procedures to guarantee their safety. Reaching the summit can, however, be extremely rewarding for those who are ready to take the chance.